Hello boys and girls, this is CA Praveen Jain and you are watching my YouTube channel PJ Classes. Now in this video, we will be discussing the question paper of Jan 21 exams for CA Final Corporate and Economic. So this is your paper number 4 and the analysis will be for new syllabus. Also, I will be providing you the guideline answers for the same. So without wasting time, let's discuss. So how the question paper was, what are my feedback on this? All this I will be discussing at last sir. First, let us discuss the question paper. Also, a small request, sir, people who are also writing their group 2, better you watch this video after you complete your group 2. Sir. Okay. Now, let's go for question number 1. So presently we are discussing part number 2. So part 1 obviously is your MCQ. So question number 1A. You are a leading chartered accountant advising corporates covering various aspects inter alia. So this total para is just talking about you are one chartered accountant having expertise in so and so field. Next, recently you have been approached by a company, public limited company, which is Dashboard Limited. It's a loss making company seeking your advice on validity of appointment of Mr. X. Okay, so company wants to appoint Mr. X and they are appointing Mr. X as a full-time director. Now you know full-time directors are nothing but managerial persons. So managerial persons may you have 8 people in which full-time director is also one among them. And this appointment they want to do with effect from 1/1/2020. As on that date, he was above age 70 years. Okay, very good, sir. So 70 ke upar he is. You were further informed that the EGM of the company was held 15th March 2020 and the shareholders have not passed the special resolution with regard to appointment of Mr. X. But the votes cast in favor of resolution exceeded the votes cast against the resolution. Okay. So there are some financial statement का figures are given, authorized capital, paid up capital, share application money, etc. etc. Next, on the basis of the above facts and figures, Dashboard Limited seeks your advice in respect of following under the provisions of the Act. First question: validity of appointment of Mr. X as a full-time director. Okay. So now we have seen the question, sir. So here company has appointed Mr. X as a full-time director. Now, sir, what are the provisions in company law which deals with appointment of managerial person? So appointment of managerial person के लिए we have one section called section number 190. So 196 में you have all the provisions with respect to appointment. So if you read 196 subsection 4, you will be finding there are 3 conditions which you have to fulfill for appointing a managerial person. The first condition is nothing but board of directors का approval with respect to such appointment. Second condition is nothing but shareholders का approval by passing OR in next general meeting. Meaning, first board of directors will appoint and then it has to be regularized by shareholders in the general meeting. And third wala, if appointment which you are doing is in variance of schedule 5 part 1, better word would be part 1 of schedule 5. This is a better way of writing it. If the appointment is in variance of part 1 of schedule 5, then CG approval is also required. Okay, so you can say 3 conditions or you can say 3 approvals. So how many approvals are required, sir? 3 approvals are required. But remember one point, third approval is not must. Third approval is only required only if the appointment of managerial person. Now I will be using the word managerial person only. Okay, in which WTD will also come. So our Mr. X will also come in managerial person. So if at all your appointment is in variance of part 1 of schedule 5, then only CG approval is required, otherwise not. Now, when you read schedule 5 part 1, you will be finding some conditions. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Sir. So 1 talks about compliances with 19 laws, sir. You should not be in prison, you should be not fined, etc. Sir. Sir, second talks about what you say, COFE POSA Act ka detention. Third talks about some SR which we will be discussing, and fourth talk about you should be resident. Anyway, So these are mota provisions with respect to appointment. Also, with this section, what we have to also see is 196 subsection 3. Now, 196 subsection 3 talks about qualifications, or you can say grounds for vacation of managerial persons. Now, generally we have qualifications, a better word I can use is disqualification. Okay, so generally disqualification grounds are there in section 164 of your Companies Act, sir, and 167 talks about vacations. Now those are for normal directors. Managerial persons के लिए additional grounds are specified in 196 of section 3. Now, sir, here also you will be finding 4 grounds, sir. Anyway, all this we will not discuss. Now, ground number 1 is talking something. Now, what it says is, when company is appointing a managerial person, generally we have already seen shareholders approval is required by passing ordinary resolution. But if at all company it talks about which age ka person it should be. So condition number 1, or you can say 196 subsection 3 may point number 1 talks about what, sir? Age limits. It says less than 21, any person who is less than 21, he cannot be appointed as a managerial person, and any person who has attained the age of 70 or above also cannot become managerial person. In other words, bacha should not be a MP and Buddha should not be an MP, sir. So between these people can become managerial person by passing ordinary resolution. But 196 subsection 3 further says, if at all you are appointing a person who has attained the age of 70 or above, is the appointment possible? Answer is yes. Answer is yes. In such a case, what should board of directors do is, the board of directors should give their justification. While calling the notice of general meeting in which the appointment has to be done, sir. What made them appoint such old aged person also as a managerial person? So in this case, Mr. X, who is above 70, sir, in this case, first thing required is what? Justification in the notice of general meeting. Okay, see, after appointment, board of directors have to call the general meeting or not, sir? In that general meeting, we have to give this notice justifying the appointment, sir. Okay, very good. Then in the general meeting, what should be passed is special resolution. So just now you said OR. Now OR will be required for those persons whom we are appointing above 21, sorry, who has attained the age of 21, sir, and what do you say, less than 70, sir. But if it is 70 or more, sir, then SR is required, sir. Okay, that is one point which you have to remember. Now, in further, this section says that if at all SR is not passed, but vote cast in favor are greater than vote cast against the resolution, in such case also appointment can be made. Can I say our case is exactly the same, sir? So SR is not passed and vote cast in favor of resolution is greater than vote cast against the resolution. Never ever say that OR is passed. Okay, what was proposed is SR. So you should say that SR did not pass, but the thing is vote cast in favor was greater, sir. Now, as a situation may still board of directors, what they can do is they can make an application to whom, sir? Central government. What they can do is they can make an application to central government. If central government is of an opinion if this appointment will be in the beneficial interest of the company, sir, then central government may approve such appointments. So this entire panchayati you have to write for that particular answer. Okay, so you can see this. So validity of appointment of Mr. X as full-time director. Now in this present case, what has happened is this, sir, board of directors have appointed. Okay, sir, nice. Can I say then SR was required because above 70 you are saying, sir, but SR failed. Okay, but vote casted in favor was greater than vote casted against the resolution. Now, will the appointment be valid? Now the question is, did board of directors make an approval to central government? And after making an approval to central government should approve such appointment, and central government will approve only if central government is of an opinion that it will be in the beneficial interest of the company. So whether the appointment is valid, now can I say I can't give you the exact answer. What I can say, appointment will be valid if at all it is approved by CG. Otherwise, it will be invalid, sir. Okay. So this is what it is. So presently we are talking about 196. So I'll just show you 196 also, sir. So you can see, no company shall appoint or continue a person as MD, WTD or manager below the age of 71 or who has attained the age of 70, below the age of 21 and who has attained the age of 70. Now, so what is the condition, sir? Company can appoint a person who has attained the age of 70 by passing an SR. The notice should give explanatory statement, justification should be given, sir. And if SR is not passed but vote cast in favor are greater than vote cast against the resolution, if CG is satisfied that the appointment is most beneficial for the company, then such appointment can be made, sir. Okay. So this is what you are supposed to write. Now we have to calculate the effective capital. Now that's the reason this all figures were given, sir. This will be useful for us to calculate effective capital. Now effective capital का formula from where we will get, sir. Let's see. One minute. हाँ. तो effective capital कैसे calculate करें? Now to calculate effective capital, we have something called Schedule 5. Now Schedule 5 is to be read along with section 196, 197. Okay. Now Schedule 5 is divided into various parts. So you have part number 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now part 1 talks about appointment. Part 2 talks about remuneration. Okay. So part 3, part 4 are presently not relevant for us. Now part 2 is further divided into sections. So you have section number 1, section number 2, section number 3, section number 4 and also section number 5. So I can just show you that also, sir. So you can see Schedule 5 is divided into 4 parts. Part 2 is talking about remuneration. Now, sir, उसमें section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4 and section 5. Section 2 is more important because section 2 talks about remuneration. Now this section 2 is further having something called item A and item B. Now if you remember, item A is having one table, sir, where you will be having various slabs depending upon the effective capital. So slab limits, if you remember, it will be less than 5 crores, 5 crores less than 100 crores, 100 crores or more less than 250 crores and 250 crores or more. If it is 5 crore, then you have managerial remuneration which is 60 lakhs, it will be 84 lakhs, it will be 120 lakhs and it will be 120 lakhs plus 0.01 percentage of capital which is in excess of 250 crores. Anyway, we will discuss that point. Now, if you see part 4 mein, there is section 4. Now, section 4 is having certain explanation. Section 4 is having certain explanation. Now, explanation number 1 defines what is effective capital. Okay. So, explanation number 1 defines what is effective capital. If you read the definition of effective capital, sir, 5 things are included in it and 3 things are excluded in it. So 5 items are to be added, 3 items are to be deducted. But overall, when you understand what is the understanding with respect to effective capital, it is nothing but the amount which company invests in the business. So what are the 5 things which we have to add, sir? So paid up share capital is to be added. We have to exclude something called share application money. Next, securities premium account is added. Reserves and surplus is added. We have to exclude revaluation reserve. Long-term loans is added. Long-term deposits which is repayable after 1 year is added. So all these items are to be added. Next, what is to be deducted, sir? Investment is to be deducted. But if company is an investment company, then it will not be deducted. Okay, so we have to assume, okay, whether the company is investment company or not, sir. If it is investment company, so obviously can I say it is their business, so hence it should not be deducted, sir. But if you are not an investment company, sir, so can I say this money is not there in the business, going in others business, hence it is to be deducted, sir. Accumulated losses and preliminary expenses to the extent not written off. So let us see what are the things which we have to include, sir. So now first, authorized capital, will it be included? Answer is no. Paid up share capital, answer is yes. Share application money, answer is yes. Sorry, share application money will not be included, sir. Okay, this will not be included. Reserves and surplus, answer is yes, but revaluation reserve should not be included. So can I say 680 may say we have to remove how much, sir? 80, and then we get something called 600. This has to be added. So can I say 860 will be added, 600 will be added. Long term borrowing should be added, answer is yes. Investment, answer is you have to deduct it, assuming that you are not a investment company, because nothing is specified here. Dashboard limited only it is written. Accumulated losses you have to deduct. So at the end it will be 860 plus 600 plus 800 minus 160 minus 47. So whatever amount comes, that is your effective capital. If at all I am not wrong, we have done the calculation, so it will be 2060. Okay, next. So two questions are over, sir. Next, as the company is running in losses, state the maximum amount of remuneration that can be paid on yearly basis to each managerial person other than managerial person functioning in professional capacity. Now, as I already told you, sir, the schedule 5, the part 2 is talking about remuneration. Now, this part is further divided into various sections. So, section 1, section 2, section 3, 4, 5. Now, section 2 is to be read when company is paying remuneration in case of losses or no profits. So, can I say presently the company is in losses. So, this section is further divided into two parts where you have item A, item B. Now, item B is talking about those managerial persons who are working in professional capacity. So, presently the question has made it very clear that we don't want to calculate for professional capacity. So, it is only item A. So item A will talk about what is the minimum remuneration, or you can say maximum, both language you can use. So what is the maximum amount company can pay to managerial person in case company is incurring losses. So I have given you one table, sir, where I have discussed different limits, sir, and all those limits were dependent on what, sir? Effective capital, and this was per person, per managerial person, how much you can pay. So already I said 60 lakhs, 84 lakhs, 120 lakhs, 120 lakhs plus 0.01 percentage in excess of 250 crores. So already this limit also I have written, less than 5 crore, greater than or equal to 5 crore, but less than 100 crores. So this was equivalent to 100 crore or more than that, but less than 250 crores. So this was the limit, sir. Now, presently, if you remember, our effective capital is 2060 crores, sir. So can I say how much company can pay? Sir, company comes here, sir. So can I say what would be per person maximum managerial remuneration which company can give, sir? So 120 lakhs plus 2060 minus 250 into 0.01%. Can I say this whatever amount comes per annum to per managerial person it can pay. Okay? This is the amount which can be paid. Anyway, directly you just can't pay, sir. You have to fulfill some conditions also. Okay. So presently we are just talking about this is the remuneration it can be paid. Now, because the word used is maximum, what else can also be paid, sir? So we also have something called perquisites. So these perquisites are overall above all the managerial persons which are given here. Now perquisites are given in section number 4. So those perquisites also can be paid, sir. Okay. So you have a provident fund card, this thing, etc. So that can also be paid. So what should be our final ultimate answer, sir? 120 lakhs plus 2060 minus 250 into 0.01%. Now I have done small calculation. I'll just show you how much the amount comes. So 1.2 crores, 120 lakhs is 1.2 crores plus 18 lakhs 10,000 is equal to 1.38 crores company can pay, sir. if at all you also include those perquisites. Now we don't know how much that amount comes, sir. So depends how much company pays. So I'll just show you that perquisites wala also. So you can see perquisites not included in managerial remuneration. So contribution to PF, gratuity, encashment of end of tenure, that is there. Okay. So if you have expatriate managerial person, then children education allowance, holiday passage, leave travel concession is also given. Now here we can't write this because question did not say whether he is a expatriate managerial person. So these three things though can be given. Okay. So that is how it goes. So this ends this part, sir. And here, if required, answer though it is over, but I would like to tell you that there was small what do you say drafting error in the question paper. Why? See, you have to pay this amount, sir. You have to pay this amount, sir. Even if company incurs losses, company can pay maximum this much. Again, conditions I said, OR is required to be passed, all those things are there, sir. Anyway, now the point is ये जो effective capital है, when you will be calculating which year ka effective capital you have to calculate. Presently, if I am not wrong, can I say all this effective capital we have done calculation as at 31st March 2020. Agreed or not, sir? So effective capital is 2060 crores as on 31st March 2020. Okay. Appointment is made when, sir? 1/1/2020. Can I say appointment is made for which financial year? Appointment is made for financial year 2019-2020. Agreed? Now, sir, whenever we are making an appointment of a managerial person, effective capital we should see for preceding financial year. So in other words, we should calculate effective capital for 31st March 2019, but those figures are not given only. So here we have no other chance. We have to assume as if more or less these what do you say numbers would remain same and effective capital will be around 2000 crores, and then we are giving this answers. Okay, so people who have gone through the subject very well, you will understand what exactly I'm trying to say, sir. Okay, so here actually this should have been 2019, then our answer would have been 100% correct, sir. But because we are not having 2019 wala what you say figures, we are not in a position to calculate, sir. So if required, I'll just show you on which day you should calculate this effective capital. You can see explanation 1 and then you have explanation 2 in what is it section number पार्ट 2 में सेक्शन नंबर 4 दैट perquisites में explanation 1 was effective capital, second on which day you should calculate this. So other case on the last day of the financial year preceding the financial year in which the appointment is made. So can I say in our present case appointment is made for 2019-20. Agreed? So it should be preceding the financial year. So it should be 31st March 2019. Anyway, so itna minute thing so we need not see, sir, but still this was one observation which I had. Anyway, how is the remuneration payable to full-time director determined? How it is determined, sir? Now, sir, for this we have 197 subsection. In fact, in November 2020 attempt also 197 subsection 4 pay question was asked. In this attempt also question was asked, sir. There was one. Okay. Okay. So 197 subsection 4 may it says how the remuneration is determined, sir. So remuneration can be determined for managerial person as specified in the MOA or by passing a resolution, or if AOA says SR is to be passed, then SR will be passed, sir. Okay. So this ends your question number 1A. Maybe I have taken lots of time. Moving forward, I will be thoda fast. 1B. Apex Limited is an unlisted public company having 10 directors. Okay, very good. 10 directors are there. So there was one board meeting which was conducted. It was conducted on 14th August 2020. Okay, it was proposed. 1 minute, sir. This small error which is okay. So what is the question, sir? So board meeting has happened on 14th August 2020. It was proposed to approve enter into a contract oblique arrangement with E Limited also and Q and A Associates partnership firm. Okay. So company is Apex Limited. Company is Apex Limited. This company wants to enter into contract oblique arrangement with two people, sir. So one is company which is E Limited. Yes, and next is Q and A. So one is E Limited and next is Q and A. It's a partnership firm, sir. It's a company. So you can say company bolo ya body corporate bolo. So company wants to enter into contract oblique arrangement. Well and good, sir. No problem. Next. Mr. Y and Mr. Z are the directors of this company. Okay, very good. So Mr. Y and Mr. Z are directors of Apex Limited. Mr. Y, Mr. Z. Company is already having 10 directors. So in this 10 directors, 2 directors are Y and Z. Okay, well, next point, sir. Mr. Y and his spouse holds 2% and 1% respectively in E Limited. Okay, so E Limited में Y is holding 2%, Mrs. Y is holding 1%. So totally they are holding 3% capital. Now this is equity. Yeah, shareholding they said okay, equity we'll assume, sir. Mrs. Z, spouse of Mr. Z, is a partner in Q and A Associates. So Mrs. Z is a partner in this firm. Okay, very good. Yeah. Next point. The board meeting was attended by 5 directors, including Y and Z. So can I say company is entering into some board meeting? That board meeting has happened on 14th August. Now company wants to approve this contract oblique arrangement with E Limited and Q and A. Now this board meeting may 5 directors have attended. Now tell me, sir, company ka total strength is 10. Is quorum present or not, sir? So can I say when we talk about quorum, now how much is the quorum, sir? 2 directors or 1 by 3 of the total strength. So can I say 10 ka 3 will be 3 point. It will be equivalent to 4, whichever is higher. So in this case, 4 is the quorum, sir. Now 5 directors are present, sir. So uprightly, if I want to say, sir, quorum is present. Okay, without seeing further facts. The board meetings was including Y and Z. Okay, Y and Z are also present. So here you have 5 directors D1, D2, D3, and then Y and Z all are present. Okay, well put. All the directors participated in the discussion and voted in favor of resolution except Mr. Y. Okay, contracts are approved. However, Y and Z have disclosed their respective interest in the contract. The earlier board meeting was held on 25th March 2020. So this board meeting was held on 14th August. So you can see it was held on 14th August. This is held on 25th March. So question number 1, whether the board meeting that was held and transaction therewith are within the provisions of this act. Okay. So we have to see whether the board meeting held is correct or not, sir. Now tell me, sir. Sir, earlier board meeting, why they have given this earlier board meeting, sir? Just they want to calculate the gap between first board meeting and second board meeting is proper or not, sir. So can I say earlier board meeting was held on 25th May and this board meeting is held on 14th August. Sir, maximum gap between two board meetings should be 120 days. This is what it is given in your 173 subsection 1, sir. Okay. So maximum gap which can be allowed between two board meetings is 120 days. So don't you think 14.8 is within 120 days only? So in this case, this answer is correct. Whether the board meeting that was held is valid or not, answer is yes. But whatever transactions which are done, are they within the provisions of the act or not, sir? Sir, tell me, sir. In the present case, whatever contract oblique arrangement company has entered, first question is whether they are related party contract. contracts, are they related party transactions? My answer would be no. Now, most of the faculties or most of the students, by looking at it, will be saying that this is a related party transaction. 188 would be applicable. Now, reason being very simple, sir. When you read section 188 subsection 1, you have about 7 clauses where 6 transactions are covered. If company opposite side is related party, if company enters into those 6 transactions, then only it is a related party transaction, otherwise not. Sir, in the present case, only they said they have entered into a contract oblique arrangement. But what sort of contract it is, whether it is goods, materials, property, leasing of any property, is agent doing anything, under or to say underwriting thing it is, or it is a contract with respect to office or place of profit. These 6 what is it transactions which are specified is 188 subsection 1. Those 6 transactions are not specified here. So hence I would not like to apply 180. Okay, that thing is over. Next point is what? Are Mr. Y and Mr. Z, are they interested directors? Now, if you say interested directors, then my answer would be yes. Why? There is one section called 180. Now, 184 talks about a disclosure of interest by interested directors. Now, 184 subsection 1 talks about general disclosure. 184 subsection 2 talks about specific disclosure. Sir, again, if at all readers of the law and a literal interpretation if they give, sir, 184 subsection 2 says what? One side is a company, another side is a body corporate, another side is a partnership firm. So if company is entering into any contract oblique arrangement, and in that body corporate, company ka director along with other directors, if they are holding more than 2% in this body corporate, then 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 these directors, which director? This company ka director will be called as interested directors. And if they are interested director, they have certain duty to perform. What is the duty, sir? Duty number 1, duty of disclosure. What disclosure? Disclosure of interest. And second duty, duty not to participate in the meetings. Okay, nice. Similarly, partnership firm also the word used is. But here the point is, I would like to say that when you read the Bail Act, also the word used is directly oblique indirectly. So in the present case, you have E Limited. Sir, Mr. Y is only holding 2%, whereas the limit is more than 2%. Will this 1% will also be included? Answer is yes, because the word used is indirectly. So let's see those wordings, sir. So you can see here 184 subsection 2. Every director of the company, directly oblique indirectly, if they enter into a contract oblique arrangement in which they are concerned with whom? A body corporate. So can I say presently E Limited is a body corporate in which they are holding more than 2%. Actually they are holding more than 2%, but can I say indirectly what is also there? So can I say they are holding 2%, indirectly they are holding 1%. So is he an interested director? Answer is yes. Similarly, in that partnership firm, the word used is, sir. Again, is he an what do you say? He is not a partner, but can I say wife is a partner or not, sir? Yes. So can I say in these contracts they are interested, and if they are interested, they should disclose the nature of their concern oblique interest, and they should not participate. In the present example, they have disclosed, but they have participated. So do you think this will be valid or invalid? Answer is invalid, sir. And what would be the fate of those contracts, sir? Those contracts will be voidable. That is given in 184 subsection 3. So what answer you should write here? Whether the board meeting was held properly? Answer is yes, board meeting was held properly. This is the provisions of the law. Whether the transactions are what you say done properly? So here you should say that disclosure is also required, plus participation is also, participation should not be done. But here they have participated. Hence it will be voidable contract, and it will be at the option of the companies. So you can see 180 section 174 subsection 1, 184 subsection 2, 184 subsection 3. Subsection 1 is 174 subsection 1 is for quorum and remaining this 2 is for interest. Okay. So voidable at the option of company. Now, under what circumstances any contract oblique arrangement entered into by company will be in violation of section 192? Can I say all discussion is happening with respect to 184, 173 and suddenly they ask with respect to 192. Now section 192 is what, sir? It's talk about non-cash transaction. In other words, one side is company, another side is director, other persons are also there, but presently I am taking simple example. And company is entering into some arrangement. Company is entering into some arrangement which is non-cash transaction. Either company is doing that or director is doing this. Between them, this is happening. So if that is the case, then two things are to be done. Approval of shareholders is required in general meeting. Valuation report is required. Okay. If it is not followed, then whatever non-cash transaction has happened, it will be voidable at the option of company. But in two cases, it will not be voidable. Sir. What are those two cases? If restitution is not possible. Restitution is not possible. Coming back to original state, it is not possible. But company is indemnified. In this case, contract will not be voidable. Next, the person who has acquired the property, he has acquired the property. Two things he has to fulfill. He has acquired the property in good faith and for bona fide value. These two conditions are fulfilled. Again, it will not be voidable. So this is what they are asking in this particular case. Okay, done. Next, let's see question number 2. Investigation proceedings under the provisions of Companies Act 2013 is being carried out against Fishy Limited. Okay, so tribunal on reasonable grounds to believe the company ka funds assets are likely to be likely to be transferred, removed, etc. Sir, which will be prejudicial to the interest of the company. Okay, so tribunal is of an opinion that the company ka assets may be transferred and investigation is going on. What did they do, sir? In this connection, tribunal has requested company ka legal advisors, bankers to disclose and furnish the copy of communication made by them to the company. Sir. Okay, so tribunal is asking some information from two people. One is legal advisor, one is banker. Okay, but those people are not giving the information. Under the circumstances, tribunal wishes to pass one order. First order they want to do is freeze the assets of company. Next, they want to punish the company. Third, they want to compel, matlab force the legal advisor and bankers to provide the information. So, in light with provisions of Companies Act, analyze whether tribunal has power to do so in respect of above situation. In the present case, what is happening, sir? Investigation is happening on which company? Fishy Limited. Okay, investigation is happening, and can I say during investigation, company management or somebody, sir, they are trying to transfer the assets, and tribunal is of an opinion that this is about to happen. So don't you think when investigation proceeding is going on and when company management is transferring the assets, do you think we should allow that to happen or we should stop that? Obviously, tribunal should have power to stop that. So is tribunal by virtue of Companies Act having that power? Answer is yes. So you can refer section 220. Okay. So I'll just show you 221 where tribunal is having power to freeze the assets of the companies. So if it appears to tribunal during investigation, what the removal of assets is happening, which will be prejudicial to the interest of the company, shareholders, etc., then tribunal can order what is such a transfer, etc., should not happen, and that order can be enforced for 3 years. Matlab 3 years tak you should not do the transfers. Okay. Next question was, if at all company do not follow the order, what penalty tribunal can impose? So can I say on company they can impose minimum 1 lakh ka penalty, maximum 25 lakhs ka penalty. Okay, so I hope you got this answer. So 1 is also over, 2 is also over. It was talking about penalties. So can tribunal freeze the property? Answer is yes. 221 mein power is there. And if at all tribunal wants to freeze, they can freeze it for 3 years. Next, can tribunal compel the legal advisor, compel matlab force a legal advisor, banker to give the required information. For this, we have something called 227. Now, sir, 227 talks about privileged communication. Privileged communication, yes, sir. These are such communications which are done between two parties, and it need not be disclosed to others. So here, what is happening, sir? Company ka legal advisor, they will be knowing more facts about the company. Company ka bankers, they will be knowing more facts about the company. Now, tribunal is compelling legal advisor to give the information, and tribunal is compelling banker to give the information. The question is, can they do this? Law says 227 में max to max what legal advisor can provide information to tribunal is client's name and client's address. That's it. More than that, he is not supposed to give. Similarly, what a banker can provide to tribunal is information with respect to company, and if related company etc. ka investigation is also going on, that also they can provide. Related company etc. is defined in section 290. That's it. This much information they can give. More than that, tribunal cannot ask and they need not give, sir. Okay. So here, can tribunal compel the legal advisors to provide required information? Now, here my answer would be in this manner. If tribunal is asking client information only, client address only from legal advisor, then tribunal can compel. Other than that, if the tribunal is asking, then it cannot compel. Similarly, tribunal is asking information only with respect to that particular client whose investigation is going on, that is fish limited, to that banker, then tribunal can compel. For other companies के लिए tribunal cannot compel. Clear? So 227 का reference also you should give, sir. So you can see 227. So legal advisor can provide name and address of client, need not provide any other information. Bankers of company can provide information with respect to company related to company, need not provide any other information. समझ में आया बच्चा? That is it, sir. So I hope this entire thing is done, sir. Okay. So 2B, let's see. 15 members of KUN Limited are holding 15% paid up share capital on which all those calls etc. are paid, it seems. They have applied to tribunal under section 241 to claim relief from oppression and mismanagement because affairs of the company are being conducted in a manner which is prejudicial to the interest of the company. Tribunal has admitted. Okay, very good, tribunal. You have admitted the application. After admitting, tribunal has passed an order removing managing director from the company with immediate effect. The name of the managing director was Mr. Bab. Mr. Bab was appointed for 5 years on 1st April, it seems. Okay. And 1st April ko if he is appointed, sir, so can I say 5 years are not yet elapsed and he is now removed by the tribunal, sir. So he is now demanding for compensation because contract also says, it seems, and he is removed before the expiry. So now Bab is claiming the compensation for remaining term of 1.5 years. So what did company say? We are not going to pay the compensation, but we will give you an offer to reassume your office after the lapse of 3 years from 1 October 2020. So referring to and analyzing the relevant provisions of Companies Act, decide whether the claim of Mr. Bab is tenable. What is his claim, sir? Compensation. And what is the proposal of Unlimited, sir? They are offering reassume of services after 3 years. So whether this can be done or not is the question, sir. Now, if at all people have read Prevention of Oppression and Mismanagement chapter, you will be finding one beautiful interlinkage. What is that, sir? 244, 241, 242, 243. 241 talks about eligible members can make an application to tribunal to claim relief. Application to claim relief from oppression and mismanagement. And if application is admitted, tribunal will pass its order. Okay. So actually, general order is 242 subsection 1. Tribunal can pass such order if deems fit. उसका some illustrations are given in 242 subsection 2, and what would be the effect of that order is given in 243. Now presently 15% of paid up capital, all those limits are given, sir. So generally jaise that limit is given, now students might be thinking we are supposed to calculate whether they are eligible member. Answer is no. Why? Already question is saying a application is admitted, so obviously it is not a 244 wala section. Application is admitted, so obviously it is not 241 wala section. Sir, 242 also mostly it is not, but tribunal under 242 subsection 2 can pass one of the order. What is the order, sir? Terminate, set aside, modify the agreement with the company of whom? MD, WTD, manager, director, etc. So in our present case, it is MD. So first question is, can tribunal terminate the order? Sorry, can tribunal terminate or remove the MD from the office? Answer is yes. 242 subsection 2 may tribunal is having this power. So whatever tribunal has done is correct. Now 243 is saying the effect. If at all a person whose services are terminated, that is MD whose services are terminated by virtue of tribunal order, sir, now he has to, point number one, vacate the office. He has to vacate the office. Very good, sir. Now he cannot be associated with the company for next 5 years. He cannot be associated with the company for next 5 years. Third, he cannot claim for any compensation or damages. Okay. So now tell me, sir. Point number one. Point number one, sir. So director was claiming for compensation. Do you think that 1.5 year ka compensation should be given? Answer is no. So do you think claim of MD is correct? Answer is no. Second, sir, company wants to reassume his services after the lapse of 3 years. Can company do this? Answer is no. Why? Can I say once the office is vacated, it will be for 5 years, sir. So 3 years not possible. However, if company wants to still do this, matlab after order of removal within 3 years, matlab after 3 years they want to appoint that person, that is possible if they make an application to whom, sir? Tribunals. If they make an application to tribunal, if tribunal agrees, then that appointment can be made. And similarly, tribunal can also not give approval just like that. Tribunal will again consult with whom? The central government, sir, give opportunity of being heard and then give the approval for appointment. This entire Panchariti you have to write, sir. So now tell me, what should be your answer in this particular case, sir? Is Mr. Bab ka claim tenable? Answer is no. Mr. Bab, you cannot claim compensation. Next, proposal of limited is tenable? Answer is yes, only if leave from tribunal is leave matlab permission from tribunal is obtained. Otherwise, they cannot appoint the director within 3 years. 5 years should be lapsed. Okay, so I have given the answers. So Mr. Bab's claim is not and 5 years should happen, sir, except in the case where tribunal has given the approval. 1 minute. Next, Gogu Limited, a resident company in India, has achieved a turnover of 20,000 crores for financial year 1920. Very good. Paid up share capital is 1500 crores. Free reserves is 500 crores. Very good, sir. So can I say paid up share capital is 1500 crores and free reserves is 500 crore. Okay. Company is planning to make an investment of 7,800 crores. So this is India. Indian company wants to make an investment of 7,800 crores in overseas joint venture. So can I say joint venture outside India? And whenever this happens, it is called overseas direct investment. ODI. The company approach to you whether it can make desired investment under the automatic route. Can they make under automatic route, sir? Answer is yes, but there is a limit. Up to what it can make, sir? Automatic route may 400% of net worth. 400% of net worth. Now tell me, how much is the net worth? 1500 plus 500 will be 200. 200 into 4 is equal to 800 है ना. So 800 crores is the net worth and they want to make investment of 7,800 crores only. So preliminary my answer is they can make, but what we have to also see the equivalent amount, whatever the 7,800 crores for which they are making, sir, equivalent amount is 1.05 billion. So here you have FEMA, what you say, regulation number 6 we are having, sir, and that regulation we are studying for foreign exchange management, transfer of issue of any foreign security, amendment regulations 2004. It says limit is 400 crores, agreeable, but 400, but it cannot exceed more than 1 billion, sir. So can I say in this present case it is exceeding more than 1 billion or not, sir? है ना? Answer is yes. So ऐसे situation में RBI का prior approval is required. So in other words, can we now make that ODI, sir? Can we make that overseas direct investment? Answer is yes, with prior approval of RBI. Reason being very simple. There are two limits you have to see. One, it should be 400 crores, 400% of net worth. This is fulfilling, but it should not exceed 1 billion, sir. Here it is exceeding 1 billion, and hence, as per the regulation number 6, and a prior approval of RBI should be taken. This is one question which was direct in FEMA, sir. Okay, till now all were interrelated, but this interlinking, but this is a direct question, very simple question. Next, so here presently we are discussing SARFAESI wala question. So there is one company, they have done borrowal 15 crores from XYZ, 25 crores from AB. Company did not pay and banks have taken over the management. Now question is, as per SARFAESI, can bank take over the management? Answer is yes. Section 13 subsection 4 gives 4 measures, remedial measures to the bank, in which one of the remedial measure is to take over the management of the company. So whatever company did is correct. Okay. Next, sir, to take over the management, they have to also comply with section 15 wala provisions. What is that, sir? The newspaper notice has to be given if such takeover has happened. And jaise hi that takeover has happened, what will happen, sir? Existing directors for office will become vacant. So who will be the total in charge of the company, sir? Sir, banks ka representatives who are appointed as a director in the board of directors of the company will be in the in charge of the company, sir. So that is what you have to understand. Now, after managing the business for some months, the bankers are successful in realizing their dues from the company. By that time, bank has converted the part of the debt into equity shares by which they have acquired the controlling interest. Referring the provisions of SARFAESI Act, decide whether banks are obliged to restore the management of the business. Point is, see, why bank is taking over the management of the company so that bank can realize their money. Now, point is, can bank lifelong be taking the possession or taking over the management of the company? Answer is, they say your money is recovered. So can I say now you have to restore the management. However, sir, this was given in section number 15, subsection 4. The restoration of management should be done. But 15.4 has one proviso attached to it. In this present case, restoration of management is not required. What is the case? If secured creditor along with another secured creditor has converted part of their debt into equity, by virtue of which they have got a controlling interest in the company, then restoration of management is not required. So can I say this is what you were supposed to write? Proviso to subsection 4 of section number 15. Okay. So here restoration is required or not required? Not required. So this is what I have given you in hint answer also. You can refer the material also, sir. Okay. Next question, sir. Analyze the provisions of Companies Act whether the following companies are considered as foreign companies. Okay. Now, presently we have to discuss whether companies can be considered as foreign companies. Can I say there is a section called section 2 clause 42 which defines what is a foreign company. What is a foreign company? 3 conditions are specified, sir. Foreign company is that company which is incorporated, where outside India. Which is incorporated where outside India. Okay, very good. Next, having what? place of business. Having what? Place of business. Where? In India. Having what? Place of business. Where? In India. Plus doing business activity in India. Having place is important. Doing business activity. Doing business. Conducting is the better word. Conducting business activity. Where? In India. So if you fulfill these three conditions, then you are a foreign company. Further, sir, this place of business in India, it can be either through your agent or by itself. Itself matlab you, the company itself can have a place of business or they can appoint an agent. Sir, it can be either physical place or by virtue of electronic means. And what is electronic means? That is defined in rule number 2. Okay. So if this is satisfied, then you are a foreign company. Okay. Now let's read what are the questions which are given. A company is incorporated outside India. Can I say first condition is next? Incorporated outside India, that is Russia. Okay. Installed their main server in Moscow. Okay. For maintaining office automation software by a cloud computing for its client in India. Okay. Sir, remember when you are reading this rule number 2, sir, electronic means में, you will be finding one point where the server is located is irrelevant. Whether the servers are in India or outside India. Can I say they are providing client cost services in India? Are they doing business in India? Answer is yes. Are they incorporated in India? Answer is yes. Sir, server is located outside India. Immaterial, sir. Can I say this condition is also fulfilled? Are all the three conditions fulfilled? Answer is yes. So is that first company a foreign company? Answer is yes. So are you a foreign company? Answer is yes. A company which is incorporated outside India. Condition 1 is fulfilled. Employs agents in India. Acha, employs agents in India but has no place of business in India. So you are appointing an agent in India but having no place of business in India. Sir, here I have one debate. Matlab, whatever my answer I will say will exactly contradict with the answer given by ICICI. Okay. Now, similar question was given in November 18 new syllabus. Okay, same question was given in November 18 new syllabus. Same question, ditto. And 1, 3 and 4. All three questions are same to same from November 19 new syllabus. So in fact, this entire foreign company questions which we are talking about is not a new creativity by ICS. These questions are already repeated. Okay. So in fact, November 19 method, this came for 8 marks. Presently, 4 questions they have asked only for 4 marks. So by this, you can understand how lengthy the question paper was. Anyway, now, sir, if at all you ask me, and I already told you by looking at the definition, physical place is not important, sir. And that place you can have by yourself or by agents. So now tell me, company is incorporated outside India? For second, answer is yes. Are they having an agent? Yes. If you are having an agent, we will assume that you are having a place of business in India. And obviously, when you have agent in India, we are assuming that you are doing business activity in India. So according to me, the answer should be it is a foreign company. But November 18 suggested answers may they said it is not a foreign company because they are looking at this bold words. What are these bold words, sir? Has no place of business in India. See, place does not mean physical place. It can be electronic place also. And place need not be by itself. It can be through agent also. So can I say here they are having place by virtue of their agents or not, sir? So my interpretation is place of business is there in India, sir. But here ICI has gone with these wordings and they said it is not a foreign company. It is not a foreign. So now you students should ask me one question. Sir, what should we do in exam? So my answer would be very simple. Do that thing which gives you marks. So presently here you have to qualify the exams. So here what gives you marks that you have to do, sir. So you know what is the best answer. Is it a foreign company or not a foreign company? Not a foreign company. Okay. This is what is given in your suggested answers. And I expect that the same thing will be given to the person who is correcting the paper also. If it gives if it is given to me, sir, according to me this is a foreign company, no? But suggested answer says it is a not a foreign company. So first is foreign company, second is not a foreign company. Third, company is incorporated outside India, condition 1 fulfilled. Having agents in India, condition 2 fulfilled. Why these agents are there? To enter contracts on behalf of the company with the customers itself, doing business activity also. Is it a foreign company? Answer is yes. Fourth, company incorporated outside India, first condition fulfilled, registered in Mauritius. Okay, all business model, financial strategies, important decisions are taken out at a board meeting held in India. Achha. Only board meeting is held in India, sir. So can I say no place of business in India, no business activity in India? So is it a foreign company? Answer is no. Why? Only one condition is fulfilled. In fact, I said how many conditions should be fulfilled? Three conditions. समझ गया बच्चा? That's it, sir. So 2 clause 52, sorry, 2 clause 42 में all those clarity you will be getting, sir. Next, PHIL systems is a foreign company. Okay, this is another question with respect to foreign company. So foreign company 4 plus 4, 8 marks के लिए it has come, sir. So they are having a place of business in India. Their financial statements are prepared 31st March 2020. Now, whether the accounts of the company pertaining to Indian business operations shall be audited. So is audit required? When you read section 381 with rule number 5, it says that audit, so foreign company accounts with respect to Indian business should be audited by a practicing chartered accountant. Okay, so that practicing chartered accountant can be individual or a firm. Okay, so is audit required? Answer is yes. By whom? Either individual practicing chartered accountant or firm. So who is saying this? 381 read with rule number 5, sir. Okay, sir, what is the due date for filing financial statement to ROC? Obviously, and what we have for our normal companies. So it is nothing but 6 months from the closure of your financial year. So we are not saying that AGM conclusion, etc. It is simple 6 months from the closure of financial year. And if you want to write form number also, form number is FC3. Again, you have to quote section 381. But in this case, there will be rule number 4. So this is rule number 4. So 6 months may you have to make the file the returns. What is the effect of contract entered by an Indian company with PHSI in case PHSI has not filed a financial statement with ROC? In other words, foreign company was supposed to make the compliance of the Indian company law, but they did not comply, sir. They did not file the return. So whatever contract they enter, what would be the effect of that? For that, we have one section called section 393. Now, as per section 393, they say 3 consequences will happen. What are the 3 consequences? Whatever contract agreement which this foreign company enters with another companies, they will be valid. Okay, that contract will be valid. Other party can sue this company by virtue of that contract, so they can be sued. But can they sue? Answer is no. Who can't sue? Foreign company cannot sue. So 3 things I am saying. So first thing is what, sir? Contract is valid. Outsider can sue the company, but company cannot sue the outsider. That is the effect if you don't file the returns. So this is for point number 3. I am giving the quotation for section number 393. Next, in which form and within what period annual return has to be filed, sir? So can I say audited financial statement के लिए FC3 it was, sir, annual return के लिए FC4 it is, and what is the time limit? Okay. So within 60 days you have to make the file the annual return, sir. Of this 60 days you have to count from last day of your finance. Okay, so simple question, the direct question. So now we have PMLA wala question. So all other laws we are reading now. By means of order in writing, AA appointed under PMLA Act has done certain attachments. So he has attached the property under section 8 because the property is involving money laundering. Aggrieved by the order of AA, Mr. AA. So you can say aggrieved person has filed an appeal. And where you can file an appeal, sir? Appellate tribunal. So appellate tribunal has heard and they have upheld the order. Upheld the order matlab confirmed the order. So in other words, remedy aggrieved person wanted, but he got no remedies. So can he challenge the order of appellate tribunal also? Answer is yes. With whom? High Court, sir. So he has gone to High Court. During the pendency of the appeal, so appeal was still pending, sir. Mr. AA dies. Now, whatever health problems he had, he has died, sir. Now, in light of the provisions of PMLA, now you have to answer. Within what time limit? What is the time limit for preferring an appeal before the High Court against the order of appellate tribunal? So, how much time may you should prefer an appeal, sir? 60. Okay, you have section 42. You have section 42, which says you have to prefer an appeal within 6 days from the date on which order of appeal was given by whom, sir? Appellate tribunal. Yes. Next, sir, how many days ka extension your High Court can provide, sir? High Court can give an extension of another 60 days only if application is made plus it is proved that there was a sufficient cause which has prevented him from not filing an appeal. Third question, sir. On the death of Mr. AAA, can appeal be further continued in the High Court? Very strange thing was what, sir? Repetition. November 20 May, same question was asked, and again January 21 May, they asked the same. So this is a reference of section 72. If you remember section 72 May, what is said, sir? If appeal is not filed and then the person is died, then legal representatives can prefer an appeal. If appeal is filed and then the person dies, legal representatives can continue the appeal. So in other words, appeal can be filed after the death of the person, appeal can be continued after the death of the person. So now tell me, sir, on the death of the Mr. A, can appeal be further continued? Answer is yes, by legal representative. Where it is written, sir? 72. And what would be the position if Mr. A dies before the appeal? If he dies before the appeal, still application can be filed by legal heirs. So maybe if students are getting confused between 3 and 4, I am just telling you one small clarity. Simple hai. Appellate tribunal has passed the order. You were aggrieved. Now you want to file an appeal to High Court. Before filing an appeal to High Court only you died, sir. Can legal representative file an appeal? Answer. Sir, you have filed an appeal with High Court, but during the pendency of appeal, Mr. AAA has died, sir. Can this appeal be continued? Answer is by whom? Legal representative. I hope you understood. Next, what would be the jurisdiction of High Court if central government is the aggrieved party? This is थोड़ा strange thing, sir. मतलब as a student, it becomes very very difficult कि इतना detail level में questions are asked. Okay, so थोड़ा I thought कि this was unfair for students to be asked कि jurisdiction of High Court we are talking about. But still, this is an explanation which is there for section 42 only. Okay, so section 42 में ही explanations are inserted. कि what would be the jurisdiction of High Court? So simple है. So now tell me here who is aggrieved party? Mr. AAA. If Mr. AAA is a aggrieved party, he has to file an appeal. Where? High Court. Now can I say every state has their High Court? So which High Court? Sir, Mr. AAA is the aggrieved party. ऐसे situation में he should file appeal in the jurisdiction where he resides, sir. So if he resides in Telangana, then Telangana High Court. Is this point clear or not, sir? But the question is not with respect to aggrieved party being other person. Yes, aggrieved party is what? Central government. So if central government is an aggrieved party and central government wants to file an appeal, as a situation may they will file an appeal in that particular state where the respondent is there, sir. Respondent matlab who has to respond to the application, sir. So if central government is filing challenging the order, so can I say they are challenging some respondent's order, no? So that respondent, whichever statement he says, sir, uska jurisdiction we have to see. Okay, so respondent's jurisdiction we have to check. So that was the point, sir. So you can see this. Okay, next 4A. SEBI, in the interest of trade, has amended the bylaws of recognized stock exchange by a written order specifying the reasons for amendment of bylaws. Aggrieved of the said order of SEBI, stock exchange seeks your advice whether the act of SEBI is tenable since such amendment was neither published in official gazette nor official gazette of state, referring and analyzing the provisions of SCERA. Securities Contract Regulation Act. Okay, now as per SCARA, SEBI is having one power. What powers are? Many powers are there. Now we have to discuss section 10 wala power. Under section 10, SEBI has two powers. They can make the bylaws of the recognized stock exchange, or they can amend the bylaws of recognized stock. However, whenever they are making or amending, sir, they have to consult with the governing body of recognized stock exchange. Here it is not written, we will assume that consultation is done. Okay? So with consultation of governing body, they can amend or make the bylaws. Okay, that is point number one. So can SEBI do this? Answer is yes. Next, whenever SEBI is amending the bylaws, they have to publish this in the official gazette. Two official gazette of state also and India also. Official gazette of India, official gazette of state. However, now in this present case, they did not publish this, but uska ek proviso is also there. However, previous publication can be dispensed with if it is in the nature, if it is in the interest of trade, public. So here the point is, what is a SEBI did not publish this. So we have to check whether SEBI did this because it was in the interest of state, interest of trade, or interest of public. If it is in the interest of trade or in the interest of public, then a publication in official gazette is dispensed. Not at all a problem. But anyway, reasons has to be given for that. Okay, so that is one point, sir. So now tell me, sir, is the action of SEBI tenable? Answer is yes, if at all reasons are given and it was in the interest of state, or sorry, in the interest of trade or public. Okay, next is what remedies these people have, sir. Recognized stock exchange, what they have, sir. Section 10 only says, if at all they are not if at all they are having objections with respect to any particular amendment, sir, they can apply for revision, and that application should also be made to whom, sir? SEBI. Okay, so this entire thing is given in section number 10. So if required, I'll just show you section 10 of SCARA Act, sir. So SEBI has exercised under section, SEBI has power to exercise what, sir? On suo moto or based on request. What they can do? To make oblique amend the law. So can they amend the law? Answer is yes. But before making the bylaw or amendment, sir, SEBI has to consult with governing body. Okay? If SEBI is satisfied that it is necessary or expedient to do so, it may make an amendment bylaws of SEBI. SEBI shall record its reason also. The bylaws shall be subject to conditions regard. Okay, very good. Next. So publication is required. You can see publication is required, but exception hai. If SEBI is satisfied, bylaws should be made immediately, then they can dispense off with the previous publication. So in the interest of trade or in the interest of public, and if it is there, they can dispense off the publication. If stock exchange is having any objections, sir, and they can object this within 2 months, sir. So SEBI will give opportunity of being heard, and then they may revise the, what do you say, bylaws. So this is what you are supposed to write, sir. Okay, so this was one other law question, sir. Next, 4B. Okay, so Growell Limited, a public company, has been recently listed. So you can say it is a listed company. Listed company, all promoters are individuals. Company is having 12 directors. So listed company is having 12 directors. Okay, very nice. The company has approached you seeking the advice regarding the following under the circumstances stated below. What should be the optimum combination of executive and non-executive directors? Total company law mein, if you see composition of board of directors, total company law mein, if you see composition of board of directors, nowhere it is said that these many should be executive, these many should be non-executive. Sir, it is only given in your SEBI ka regulations, LODR regulations. So here we have to check at the end of the question whether all these questions are to be answered considering Companies Act or LODR regulations. Answer is they have to be answered considering LODR regulation. Okay, so now we have to see relevant regulation. Which regulation deals with all this? So we have regulation number 17, which deals with composition of board of directors. We have regulation number 17, which deals with composition of board of directors. So as per regulation number 17, what it says? It says that the board of directors का composition should have optimum combination of what both executive non-executive. However, 50% or more, है ना, 50% is not the word used, half, है ना, it's the word used, sir. Half, more than half, so at least half or more than half should be what, sir? Non-executive directors. So now tell me, sir, company का total strength is how much, sir? 12. So what would be an optimum combination, sir? 12 into 50%. That is half we are talking about. 6. So can I say at least 6 should be non-executive? Balancing can be executive. Okay, that is point number 1 which you have to read. So board. So you can see board shall have an optimum combination of executive and non-executive director with at least one woman director. So this was one point which was very important. Board should have one woman director, of which not less than 50% of the board of directors should comprise of non-executive. So how much should be non-executive, sir? 6 non-executive are must, and they should also have one woman director. Okay, that is one point. What would be the minimum number of independent directors in case chairperson of the board of directors is non-executive? Non-executive is the chairperson. So here we need not have high number of independent directors. So this is how I explain. So here it should be 1/3 of your total directors. Total director is 12, so it should be 4. But what would be the minimum number of independent directors in case company does not have a regular non-executive chairman? Company is not having non-executive chairman. So ऐसे situation where you should have more independent directors to govern this. So hence I said half, so 50% of your 12 things. Can I say it will be 6? So half is the word used, sir. I am using 50%. More or less both are same. So how many should be independent directors, sir? 6. What would be the minimum number of independent directors in case where the regular non-executive chairperson is a promoter of Growell Limited or is related to any promoter, a person occupying the positions? So can I say as a situation may also the word used is what, sir? At least half of the total number of directors. So can I say 50% of 12 will be 6. So fourth wala answer is also 6. Okay. So you may refer this to. So regulation number you can remember, which is regulation 70. If I remember correctly, sir, November 20 May regulation 18 was tested, and this exam May regulation 17 was tested. Anyway, so now we are having questions with respect to FCRA. Bharat Sevak is an NGO which has got certificate of registration from foreign contribution under FCRA. Okay. The organization intends to invest some of the contribution amount in some mutual funds, which is projected to give good results and thereby strengthening the financial. It's simple. Sir, NGO having definite program can apply for registration. And section 12 may we have seen, sir. And if registered, then they will be getting certificate of registration from whom, sir? Government. Here Ministry of Home Affairs. So they will be giving you FCRA registration. Whenever you receive the money and a separate bank account, all these things are there. Whatever money is lying in the bank account, now you have to utilize. So maybe whatever definite program where you want to utilize, that program is not there. Now this money is sitting idle. So what you can do with this money, sir? So you have section number 8. You have section number 8 which deals with this subject matter, sir. Section 8 of FCRA I am talking about. Now section 8 says what? You can invest in some trust security. In other words, we want to invest those places where speculation is not there, because higher the speculation, higher the chance of risk. So here company wants to invest not in securities but in mutual funds. So is it allowed? When you read section 8, it says speculative activities you should not invest. Sir, What is speculative activity is defined in rule number 4, in which they say there are various activities which are speculative, likely, like, and one of the example was investment in mutual. Now tell me, sir, is investment in mutual funds a speculative activity? Answer is yes. Can it do this? Answer is no. So this is not allowed. Next, this company, this NGO also planning to defray matlab spend around 65% of the amount of FCRA received towards administrative expense. Now tell me, sir, you are receiving money. I am receiving, imagine 100 crore rupees from a foreign source for some definite program, sir. Maybe and it would be what you say political, social purpose, etc. Now that purpose के लिए I am receiving this. Can I use this money for my administrative purpose? Now imagine if total money I spend for administration expenses only, then how will I do that donation? Sorry, how will I do that charity, etc. So there are certain limits up to which you can use it for administrative expense. Now how much is the limit, sir? 50%. How much is the limit, sir? 50%. So up to 50% you can defray for administrative expense. More than that, if you want, you have to take CG approval. So in this case, they want to defray 65%. Is this allowed? Answer is generally not allowed, but with the approval of CG it is allowed. Okay. Now this is the answer which I will be giving for those people who have already written the exam in January. Moving forward, this 50% has become 20%. So there is an amendment in section number 8. And what is the amendment, sir? Whatever money which was defray of expense was 50%, that has been now reduced to whom, sir? 20%. So that point you have to remember. So this 20% who will write, sir? Moving forward, exams may you have to write. That is from your May 21 exam say onwards you can write this, because FCRA Amendment Act 2020 has brought this amendment. Clear, bacha? That's it. Now 4D is talking with respect to Arbitration and Conciliation Act. You can see here arbitration and conciliation. Now what is the question? Let's see, sir. So just go through, sir. Okay. By virtue of arbitration agreement between Mr. C and Mr. P, a matter between them which could not be resolved smoothly was now referred to arbitral tribunal. Now, arbitral tribunal can have one arbitrator or panel of arbitrators. So here arbitral tribunal is having 3 arbitrators allowed. Two among the arbitrators were of an opinion that Mr. C has to pay the compensation. So we are talking about award here. So 3 arbitrators are there. So 2 are saying that Mr. C has to pay the compensation of 2 crores to Mr. P. But third arbitrator is of an opinion that Mr. P is not eligible to get any compensation from Mr. C. So obviously, can I say there is a difference of opinion between these 3 arbitrators? But can I say majority rule will apply? Because 2 have said, so that will be written on the arbitral award, sir. So can I say here compensation will be paid or not, sir? Answer is yes. The award was then written and signed. Now we have to see who is the presiding arbitrator. I told you, sir, one arbitrator will be appointed by one party, another arbitrator will be appointed by another party. In other words, C will appoint one, P will appoint one, 2 appointed arbitrator will appoint one presiding arbitrator. So whoever is the presiding arbitrator, his judgment or his result would matter now. Anyway, the award was then written, signed. Obviously, this is one of the essential element of section 31. So section 31 talks about essential elements of having a arbitral award. So every arbitral award should be in writing, it should be signed, it should be stamped, it should be dated, and it should be telling the reasons why so and so order has been passed, sir. If at all it is having any amount, sir, what should be the interest if it is deferred? Everything should be crystal clarity ke saath you have to write. That is what section 31 talks about. So the award has to be posted to parties also, sir. So all these things are required, sir. So award was then written and signed by first 2 arbitrators, while the third arbitrator refused to sign. Now third arbitrator is not signing, sir. The fact that third arbitrator has refused to sign and the reason behind that was stated. In other words, signatures were of 2 parties. थर्ड आर्बिट्रेटर डिड नॉट साइन, बट उसका रीजन वाज गिवन कि व्हाई ही डिड नॉट साइन. Okay, 1 minute, sir. I got just one phone. Okay, next. So the fact that third arbitrator refused to sign and the reason was written. Mr. C contended that since all the arbitrators did not sign, the award is invalid, sir. Okay. So Anna ko three arbitrators are there, so all three should sign. That is what his contention. Okay. In light with arbitration. Okay, 1 minute, sir. Again, I got the call. Okay, sorry, sir. Now, so in light with the provisions of Arbitration and Conciliation Act, decide whether the contention of Mr. C is tenable. Section 31 में there are various essential elements for arbitral award. Sir, if arbitral award is generally it should be signed by all, but if it is signed by majority, that is, so can I say in this case, is his action tenable or not tenable? Not tenable. So our arbitral award will be valid and you have to follow that. That is what it is. Next, 5A. In the capacity of adjudicating officer, the registrar has passed an order against the Ideal Limited, a listed company, for not following some of the provisions of Companies Act. Okay. Being aggrieved with the order of adjudicating officer, Ideal Limited proceeded to tribunal. So in other words, they are challenging the award to tribunals. The tribunal, after giving both the parties an opportunity of being heard, upheld matlab confirmed the award. So can I say upheld? So whatever the adjudicating authority has said, same thing will follow. After lapse of a period of 1 year and 5 days, tribunal with a view to rectify the mistake apparent from the record amended the order passed by him earlier when the mistake was brought to his notice by the adjudicating officer. Achha. Ideal Limited approached you and contended that stipulated period of 3 months within which the order should be passed by the tribunal is already over. Even the delay period was exceeded, the maximum condonation period allowed was 90 days. In other words, here Ideal Limited ka problem is what? Tribunal, how can you rectify the order which you have passed after 1 year? You have already passed the order, and for passing the order, time limit is given is 3 months, and condonation period is 90 days. Both are also over. How can you do the rectification? Simple. So here problem is with respect to passing of order by tribunal. Now tribunal ka passing of order ke liye we have one section called section 420. So section 420 में all the provisions with respect to tribunal passing the order is there. Okay. So what we will do is, for this section, I would like you people to read section 420. So you can see, tribunal will pass such orders. If there is any mistake apparent from the record, then tribunal can suo moto, or when such mistake is brought to the notice, then they can also rectify the mistakes. So they can rectify the mistakes. Such order may be passed by tribunal any time, but within 2 years from the date of order. So can I say, this rectification order they can pass? How much is the time limit, sir? 2 years is the time limit. Here only 1 year has happened, sir. 1 year, 5 days has happened, sir. So can they do the rectification? Answer is yes. So referring and analyzing the relevant provisions of Companies Act, advise Ideal Limited whether its contention is tenable. No, their contention is not tenable. Why? Tribunal has got how much time period, sir? 2 years ka time period for rectification. However, if the parties, tribunal shall not amend any order against which appeal has been preferred. In other words, if appeal is preferred, then tribunal cannot do the correction. That is apparent mistake, it cannot rectify. Next. Will your answer differ if Ideal Limited has already preferred an appeal? So if preferred an appeal, then this rectification cannot do. So can I say both is section 420. Next. Now let us see. After discontinuing the business operations for 2 financial years, the directors and other persons in charge of management of CDR Limited intention to evade liability. Can I say their intention is to do some fraud of the company, made an application to ROC for removal of name. Wow. So they want to remove the name. Okay, very good. So if they want to remove the name, very good, they want to remove the name, sir. The registrar scrutinized the documents and allowed the name of the company to be removed from the companies. So can I say, with intention to defraud, they have applied for what's the removal of name. ROC could not see the fraudulent practices, and ROC has removed the name. Now, later on, can I say creditors will have problem or not, sir? Yes, same thing it is. Group of persons who had supplied goods to the company were not paid off. Okay, incurred loss as a result of removal of name of the company and were aggrieved by the above actions. Very good. They have approached you for your advice whether they will succeed to claim their dues from anybody and whether the person in charge of the management are guilty by any means. Answer is yes. So we have one section which is section number 251, which exclusively deal with this point only. To fraudulently, if fraudulent application for removal of name, sir. So if at all this is proved, then what will happen, sir? 3 consequences. What are those? So company ka management, whoever are the persons who are involved here, sir, they will be jointly plus severally liable. Second, they will be also punishable under section 447. And third, if at all ROC recommends on them, prosecution can also be initiated. So these are the 3 points. So now tell me, sir, will this creditors recover the money? Answer is yes, because jointly and severally liable. So which section you have to refer, sir? 250. Okay, next. 5C. 5C is IBC. Very nice. IBC is a very fantastic law for that matter. 10 marks. On 31st March 2020, XYZ Limited had following debts. Okay, so debts are given, name of the creditor is given, amount is mentioned. Due to heavy losses, XYZ could not pay the debts. Very good. Since the debts were overdue, creditor A has filed the application. Okay, how much amount it is, sir? 200 crores. So can he make an application? Answer is yes. So section 7 can be invoked here because he is a financial creditor. Okay, so if it is operational creditor, then we would have seen and filed an application to initiate CIRP, and the application is admitted also. Very good. IBC को लेकर है ना, who will be forming part of COC? Now tell me, sir. committee of creditors के लिए we have one section called section 21. Okay? If at all you have time, very detailed video for section 21 of committee of creditors I have prepared. Now I will be putting this under what you say cards also. So that I button is there, sir. You press on that, you will be finding that committee of creditors wala video also, sir. So please ensure that you make the best utilization of that committee of creditors. Various students are having many doubts in that 21 wala section. Anyway, COC में who should form part, sir? Only financial creditors. Only financial creditors. But imagine if financial creditors are not there, then operational creditors. For that, we have said top 18 should be there. Then one representative for workmen, one representative for employees. So all in all, max to max 20 people will be there in committee of creditors who are operational creditors. But all this panchayati will come when only if no financial creditors there in the company. Can I say here there are many, sir? So don't you think committee of creditors may only who will be there, sir? Financial creditors. But again, 21 may also gives clarity which financial creditor will not be there, that financial creditor who is a related party. So can I say will A be there in the committee of creditor? Yes. B be there? Answer is yes. But will C be there? Answer is no, because he is a related party. Now exception is there, sir. If related party is a regulator governed by special regulator, he is a regulator governed by the law, sir, then he can be included. But here it is clearly written he is not regulated by any financial sector regulator. So obviously he will not be included. Obviously operational creditors though never included. Okay, so who will be there? Only A and B will be there, sir. Whether above operational creditors will have right to vote in COC? Yes, no. They have no right to vote. Why? Can I say they are not the part of what is a COC, sir? Next, what is the compulsory agenda? What is the compulsory agenda to be discussed in first meeting of COC? They say he committee of creditor is formed within 7 days. First meeting of COC should happen. This is given in section 22. But what should be compulsory agenda? That type of question is not there. But yes, first COC meeting may whether or not other things happen or not, sir. But one thing will compulsorily happen. What? We have to now decide whether that IRP who is appointed should continue as RP or not, sir. So maybe an ICI is trying to ask you this question only. What should be the mandatory item? So mandatory item for discussion be whether that IRP should be continuing as RP or not, sir. So this is your point number 3 wala answer, sir. This is your mandatory agenda item, sir. Next, what should be the quorum? Now quorum ke liye you have IBBI regulations, regulation number 22. So regulation number 22 says what should be the quorum. So 33% voting share, either present in person or through electronic means, sir. So whether it is through video conferencing or in person, 33% or more in voting share wala persons, if they are present, then meeting can commence. If it is not present, meeting will get adjourned to next day, sir. Okay? Next day may also not there. Whatever is there will be the quorum. That is what we have studied in that regulations. So can I say first wala was section 21, second wala was section 21, third question I told you section 22 compulsory IRP to RP, and fourth wala regulation number 22, sir. Okay, 6A. Mrs. Anjana is a director of Unique Limited, a professionally managed profit-making dividend-paying company. Wow. Company के पास जबरदस्त liquid funds is there and all are ideal, it seems. Now company wants to give loans or invest in shares of other companies. Company wants to give loan. So whenever company wants to give loans, LIGS, can I say section 186 is there. Okay? So 186 covers loans also and investment also. Considering this, board of directors wants to delegate the power to the MD to invest. So delegation power MD, can I say 197 subsection 3 talks about certain items. So 13 items are there which should be done by board of directors only in board meeting. So in that 13 items it's come. Okay, very good, sir. They want to delegate the power to MD to invest up to 15% of paid up share capital without passing SR. Okay. In the light of Companies Act, analyze whether the action of board of directors is correct. Here, what you have to remember is this. So various cross references you have to do, sir. First, Section 186 says the board of directors wants to do LIGS. You can do up to limits. If it is beyond a limit, then it can be done by passing SR. Now, what is limit? Two numbers are given, sir. One, 100% of three items. That is your paid up share capital plus free reserves plus securities premium, or 60% of what, sir? Free reserves plus SPA, whichever is higher. So up to this limit, and in this limit you have to see whatever loans, investment, guarantee, security made in the past plus present, sir. If at all this is within, whatever loans you are doing is within the limit, sir, then SS situation may SR is not. So here what we have to assume is 15% of the paid up share capital. Can I say 100%? 100% is allowed. So maybe we are assuming that this is within the limits, sir. So if it is within the limits, so obviously SR is not. So can I say one action is correct? However, can I say 186 subsection 4, if I am not wrong, sir, unanimous board approval is required. Unanimous board approval matlab whoever is present in the board meeting, sir, all people should agree in favor of that resolution. Okay, so that unanimous approval is required. Up to here 186 is there. Next, sir, in and further they said what? This power to invest and in power to invest in shares or loans, they want to delegate these powers. So is this delegation allowed? 197 subsection 3 में you have clause D, E, F. Okay, so D talks about money coming in, which is loans. So E talks about investment in shares, and F talks about we giving loans to others. So these two are outflow and D is inflow. So presently 179 subsection 3 D, E, F में what we have observed is these three powers board of directors can what do you say delegate this, and out of 5 one among that person was MD. So can these powers be delegated? Answer is yes. Okay, so this is what you are supposed to write. So if LIGS is made within the below mentioned limits, that is 60% of this thing, 100% whichever is over, then unanimous resolution of board of directors would suffice. Beyond limits, SR is must. In the present case, investment is within the limits, hence no SR is required. Because assumption is 15% of paid up capital. Obviously 60% free of allowed है, 50% तो है ना, we are assuming that. As per 179 subsection 3 clause E, board of directors by passing resolution can delegate the power to MD. So the action of board of directors is within the provision. Okay. So Miss J, so woman director, she is there. She is a qualified chartered accountant, in-depth knowledge, woman director, she is there in the company. Okay. Because of tight preoccupation, the full assignments are there with her, sir. Last 12 months, say she is not able to attend the board meetings, but she has taken permission for that. There's a school day, whenever we don't come to next day, sir, we will take permission, leave letter. Tomorrow I will not come, teacher. So as such, she has taken the permission, sir. Okay. Despite of the fact that under section 161 subsection 1 clause B of the Companies Act, her office of directorship gets vacated, sir. Obviously, can I say just because you are having preoccupation, just because you take leave of absence, the words used are he absents himself for all the board meetings in the past 12 months with leave of absence or without leave of absence. This is what the wordings are for 161 subsection 1 clause B, sir. So can I say your office will get vacated? The board of directors wants to keep her, matlab they are having some attachment with this lady because she is having professional knowledge, etc., and wants to waive the event of absence or condone, matlab they want to say that chalo no, even though law is allowing, no, chalo we want to continue. Is this allowed? Answer is no. Whatever 8 grounds which are given in 167 subsection 1 are statutory grounds. Whatever grounds are specified are statutory grounds. They cannot be waived off by whom, sir? Directors. So do you think can board of directors waive it? Answer is no. Miss J Savita also wants to keep the directorship in the company. So matlab attachment is both side. Even board of directors want her and she also wants to be there in the company. Both are not allowed, sir. Why? Law is saying that this cannot happen, sir, because these are statutory grounds for vacation. Statutory matlab these are those grounds which are provided in the law, sir, है ना? So not allowed, sir. And in light with the relevant provisions of the Companies Act, analyze the above situation and advise board. Now, what advice we can give to the board if you are very much attached with the women director, because this women director is leaving, you are very much attached, no? So please fill the casual vacancy, and there is a time limit to fill the casual vacancy also. So you can see there are two sections which are dealing with filling up of casual vacancy of women director. One is second proviso to section 149 subsection 1 read with rule number 3 plus 161 subsection 4. Okay, so ensure that this is one compliance which board of directors you can do for filling the casual vacancy. Are you supposed to write this also? Reason, because they are saying advise the board the course of action. So one of the course of action would be what, sir? If at all you are that company which should mandatorily have a woman director, then you have to fill the casual vacancy, and this is the time limit. So 6B is talking about approval by circular resolution, and circular resolution के लिए we have section number 175. Okay. So there are 7 directors in the company. Very good. So now they want to open a branch office outside the registered office address of the company. Okay, company wants to open a branch office, and this decision they want to take by passing resolution by circulation. Fair enough, allowed, because it is not the item which is mentioned in 179 179 subsection 3 में all those 13 items में this doesn't come. So resolution by circulation is allowed. 4 directors of 7 has approved. So can I say 7 divided by 2, 3.54. So majority has approved it. Majority has approved it. 3 directors who did not approve has opposed the validity of the proposal on the following grounds. So they have not approved and they are opposing, sir. What are the grounds? This resolution was circulated by email and not by hand delivery, post, courier, as per the provisions of section 170. Very good. With what is subsection number 1 they are specific. Full board of directors. Secondly, second objection. This is objection number 1. Second objection. More than 1/3 of the number of directors now require that resolution should be decided at board of directors meetings. Okay. So check whether the contention of those 3 directors are clean. Sir, here what you should do is this. See, sometimes always conducting board meeting is not a good solution, sir, because physical conducting board meeting takes time also and it requires money also, sir. Spending is also very high. So there are some decisions which board of directors can take by passing circular resolution. Okay, very good. Whenever you want to pass a resolution by circular resolution, now there are 3 things which are to be taken care of. One, draft copy. One what, sir? Draft copy of resolution copy. Draft copy of resolution has to be circulated. Draft copy of resolution has to be circulated to whom, sir? All the directors. Draft copy of resolution is to be circulated to whom, sir? All the directors at their address in India, at the registered address in India. Okay, so you have to circulate draft copy of resolution. Condition number 2, it is to be approved by majority. Okay, condition number 3, sir, 1/3 or more should not say that this resolution is to be conducted at board meetings, or there should be no request from whom 1/3 or more of the directors requesting that this resolution should be taken up in the board meetings. Okay, sir, when it is to be circulated to all the directors in India, sir, now mode of delivery is also specified. 4 modes of delivery are given, sir. One is hand delivery allowed, post allowed, courier allowed, e-means allowed, electronic means allowed. Electronic means may you can see fax or email is valid electronic means. Sir, here company is having 7 directors. Majority comes 4. Okay. 7 ka 1/3 comes 3 1s are 3, 3 2s are 6. Will be 3, sir. Very good. So 3 directors has opposed, saying that this resolution cannot be passed through circular resolutions. And 2 grounds they have said. One is this resolution draft copy was sent via email itself, sir. And actually it has to be sent by post. 1 minute. Okay, sorry. So can I say one of the objection which they have raised, electronic means say it cannot be delivered. This objection is not tenable. So objection number one, not tenable. Objection number two said what, sir? Ki one third or more of the directors have requested that this resolution should be taken up in the board meeting. So can I say here this objection is there or not, sir? Yes. So this condition is fulfilled, sir. So obviously objection 2 is tenable, sir. So all in all, the final result is what, sir? Resolution by circulation. Can it be passed or cannot be passed? Cannot be passed. Again, I am telling you, sir, for passing a resolution by circulation, three conditions. Draft copy should be sent to all the directors, majority should approve, and there should be no request from whom one third or more of the directors. But here, can I say request has come to pass this resolution in board meetings. Maybe this one third of the directors, they feel that there are various things which has to be discussed, and over papers it cannot be done. Hence, physical board meeting is must. So obviously, law wants this resolution to be decided in board meeting. So now, can resolution by circulation be passed? Answer is so. This is what you are supposed to write, sir. So you can see the answer. So it cannot be passed. So SSG Bank Limited has recently started its operations. So this is a bank. They want to maintain certain records as per PMLA. So as per PMLA, which is the section, sir? Section number 12. So section 12 is a section which talks about what records bank has to maintain. So section 12 may you have 3 points which you have to remember. Two are now removed, sir. So one is you have to, now though the word used here is bank, but section 12 use a superior word which is reporting entity. Reporting entity also includes bank, sir. So reporting entity should maintain details of all their clients. For how many years? Sorry, reporting entity should maintain details of all the transactions done by their clients. For how many years, sir? 5 years. Second point, they have to furnish certain information to director. Third point, they have to maintain records of identity records of whom, sir? Their clients. That is nothing but KYC details. Again, for 5 years from the date of cessation of relationship. So this is section 12, very very important in PMLA. Again, it is asked, so repetitive question it is. Now this is the last question. With this we'll conclude. Very good. Omega Limited is undergoing CRP. Very good. Mr. Ravi was appointed as resolution professional. Very good. On perusal of books of accounts of Omega Limited, Mr. Ravi noted a few undervalued transactions. Okay, there were certain undervalued transactions had taken place preceding 6 months from the insolvency commencement. Okay, very good. However, even after knowing sufficient information, he did not report. Can I say CIRP say last 1 year, whatever undervalued transactions are there, sir, it is his duty as per section 40, 47 to report, sir, but he did not report. Anyway, now the members of corporate debtors propose to make an application to adjudicating authority to report the undervalued transaction. Because they did not report, now can I say members of corporate debtors wants to report this. So can they do this? Answer is yes. Which section allows this? Section 47 allows them to do this. So section 47 allows either a creditor or a member or a partner of a corporate debtor, as the case may be, to make an application for what, sir? Reversal of those undervalued transactions. And how much time period के लिए, how much time period undervalued transactions they can reverse, sir? 1 year. 1 year from CIRP commencement. But can I say in the present case it is only 6. So can they do this? Answer is yes. And if the application is admitted, what orders tribunal can pass, sir? One is restoring, restitution, that is bringing back to original position, and Can I say IBBI ko they will make an application, start disciplinary proceedings against whom? That resolution professional. Also liquidator is the word used, but can I say here only CRP wordings are used. That's the reason I told RP. Okay, so this was again one very simple question, 3 marks के लिए this was asked. So all in all I thought है ना this was your paper sir. So to be very frank lengthy तो था है ना. So last 2 papers what is the observation? Very lengthy, and maybe moving forward as a student you should be now addicted. What addiction sir? कि अब moving forward you will be getting a question book only and not a question paper sir. Great. So paper was lengthy, time difficult would become management. Very difficult sir. Time management becomes very difficult. Reason 100 marks ka paper this is, and you have to think. It's simple. See, you read and immediately you can't write. You have to read, you have to correlate one thing to another thing. Acha, this section, that section. It takes time sir. So how many revisions you do, that is very important. So people who are doing no revisions, 1 revision, 2 revision, it becomes so difficult for them to attempt this entire paper. Compared to November 2020, yes, this paper was more technical, or you can say this was quite difficult also. Sir. The linking of sections in November 20 also was beautifully done. Here also it is. Direct questions, at least in November 20 there are many, but here rarest of the rare, 1 or 2 questions you found which were direct. Otherwise, all were like case study only. That's the reason question paper was of 16 pages, 15 to 16 pages. Now amendments again were not tested. So in November also they did not test. In this exam also they did not test. Maybe you should be now ready for your May 21 exam where all those amendments which has happened in the past may be tested. Sir, again, all the chapters were covered from your economic laws. So you can see 14, 15, 16, everywhere, all the chapters were covered. So it happened in November 20 also, it happened in Jan 21 also. And MCQs were easy and from study materials depending upon the feedback given by students. Okay, and you can see the weightage also. I have just put comparison ke liye November 20 also. Okay, so what you will find is again first 3 chapters which are director's chapter. Last exam also, this exam also, they came for 26 marks. Okay, that's the reason they say they are very important, sir. Because practical world mein this is what you will be finding more also, sir. Hence knowledge of that is very much imperative, sir. So November May inspection they did not ask, now they have asked. November May they have asked for compromise, now they did not test. Operation they missed there, now they have asked. Registered valuer, only 1 section, I don't know why they are not asking. Maybe next exam may that should be the question, sir. So removal of name, can I say this has become a very important chapter now. Every attempt may at least 1 question you are finding, sir. Winding up, okay. Last attempt it was asked, now it is not. So foreign company, 8 marks के लिए this chapter comes. Wow, very easy chapter, scoring chapter, sir. So government companies was not asked. NCLT में से 1 4 marks, miscellaneous nothing asked. So this was the weightage, sir. Okay. If at all you want, as I said in my previous analysis video also for November 20. Now thank you very much. Most of the students have liked that video. I just created. First time chalo let's create, sir. But because most of the people have liked it and I have received requests from students, and this motivated me to record this particular video also. And also thanks to ROC also, sorry, thanks to MCA also, who has extended the last dates for filing ROC returns. So that has given us time to record this particular video also, sir. Okay. So thank you very much for the love affection which you have shown for previous videos. Okay. So this video also, it will be available on YouTube, and plus if at all you want the copy which I have used for analyzing this all these things, sir, along with suggested answers, you can WhatsApp me. WhatsApp number is scrolling on the video, sir, or I'll just write down 720 783 2744. Okay. Next, any students who are requiring classes of ours, sir, so they are available. Newly recorded videos are available. They can always purchase. Okay. So thank you very much for your patient listening. And if at all you really liked this class, sir, please give your feedback. This will motivate me for my next video session also. Okay. And subscribe the channel. There are n number of videos for company law students. So people who love company law, sir, either at CA level, CS level, or CMA level, sir, you will be surprised. There are about 40 videos on company law which are uploaded on my YouTube channel. So please make a use of that. And I have not uploaded those type of videos which are very easy, sir. So we have selected those questions which are really tough, or those sections which are having lots of interpretations. So those sections we have uploaded, sir. like independent directors. You can see है ना how beautifully 5 to 6 videos में we have covered entire things. So please make a use of that, sir. Okay? So if you like, please put one thumbs up and share this video with your friends, sir. And regarding classes, you can contact on the same number. You will be we will be very happy to serve you, sir. Thank you very much. फिर मिलेंगे चलते चलते.